1, 2, 3, 5, 7. Окей. Там є кнопочка. Ми можемо починати? Так. Його можна також рухати вліво-вправо, тобто не хвилюйтесь.
Один. Так, все. Ми починаємо.
Good morning, dear journalists and colleagues. Thank you for joining us here today. why actually we as representatives of different spheres of the civil society in different vocations are actually why we gathered here today. The matter is that for 9 months in a row, the beer in Ukraine is considered to be alcoholic beverage, and Ukraine is not the only country in this respect. All the countries in the world recognize beer to be alcoholic beverage. And only here until recently, until July the 1st, 2015, this was kind of considered to be nonsense. Well, that was a nonsense when beer was not considered to be a beverage because it contains some alcohol in its formula. The big time manufacturers of this product didn't like it at all. They started to actively approach the Verkhovna Rada trying to register the draft laws. And before actually some changes were introduced into the amendments into the law legislation to recognize beer to be alcoholic beverage, different political factions and those which represented the cabinet of ministers started to register different draft laws, 3 in number, all in all. In all those draft laws, actually, the first part of those, the first section, was dealing with the regulation issues, licensing, and the respective permissions. The second section of each of those draft laws, 2971, this is cabinet ministers 2971 -1. Which was from the Organization of the Freedom of Speech and Information, and the third one registered as the authored by Nina Yuzhanina, MP of Verkhovna Rada, in the member of the Committee of the Custom Policy and Taxation. So all those draft laws, in addition to the section dealing with the regulation, somehow all of them wanted to return the commercials, the beer commercials, back to these TV screens, TV programs. And those draft laws have been and still are almost 90% identical, all 3 of them, and all of them have the same goal to return the beer commercial, beer advertising, back to the billboards or to the TV screen. This is an absurd idea, but we understand why they're trying to do that. Because the producers of beer today start to lose their customers, the clients, even themselves declare that the market, the beer market, loses its clients and consumers. They are talking about different consequences. Between 19 and 33% losses. What does it mean? That people start to drink less beer. That means that those legislative actions, or let's say acts, which have been adopted in Ukraine, they actually have some fruit and positive results. Another positive thing, on March the 15th this year, on the WHO website, they published the report entitled Health and the Behavioral Orientations of Teenagers or Adolescents, which demonstrated that in Ukraine the level of consumption of beer among teenagers up to 15 years of age has dropped. While before we placed second in Europe, we're talking about the level of children consumption of beer, but now Ukraine places somewhere between 13th and 19th positions. We are within the 20 top 20 countries according to the level of consumption of beer. This actually testifies to the fact that big-time producers of beer lose their consumers. That's why the only way for them how they can continue to involve new consumers is or are children and the youth through the commercials, through the advertisement, specifically commercials through the radio broadcasting and TV broadcasting. Why we gather together? Each of us has his or her own idea or about this thing based on our experience. So I would like to turn the mic to Natalia Shevchenko, director of the Media Law Institute. Thank you. Good morning. I'm going to offer to your attention several legal comments regarding the sponsorship and the commercials. The situation available today in the TV broadcasting stations is associated mostly with the media, commercial or advertising law or legislation, how the respective people actually take the actions in order to observe this legislation. The alcohol beverage commercials are allowed from the 3 to 6 hours in the morning. Or the rest of the day till the 11 p.m. There is an exception for sponsorship, and this exception to the rule. And first of all, we had the commercials and advertising was a kind of a different approach, and they said that they didn't advertise, let's say, vodka. They something which is like vodka, but then when they actually banned the commercials during the whole day, with the exception of the period from 3 to 6 in the morning, they said that it was kind of compromise, that they're going to show the trademarks and nothing else. But then it appeared to be that this doesn't work, that all the hostess or host of the year, they interrupt the program and say that this program became possible only owing to this or not sponsor. Then they tried to restrict even more. They said that only the trademark should appear on the screen. Nothing doing. Sometime later, they start again some kind of dynamic video. Let's say, and we say the same commercial. According to the form, it's commercial, but illegally they try to persuade us that this is no commercial, this is just sponsorship. A trademark, they said, okay, we can register this. Every frame of this video has a certain trademark, and we are going to say that this is only the trademark demonstration, and we'll try to register kind of dynamic trademark, which changes over time or space, So everything is done on the part of the industry, and first of all, of the alcoholic industry, but also the media industry, because this means money to them, in order to avoid the specific regulation which is fixed in the law initially. We are talking about the weak efficiency or inefficient lack of efficiency on the regulator's part. First of all, we are talking about the Committee on the Radio and TV Broadcasting Information. We actually have not seen a specific desire to do something about that on their part, and actually in this respect, the state or the government plays into the hands of the producers of the alcoholic beverages. Of late, some time of attempts at least start to be declared, but we haven't seen any practical step to be taken. Being initiators and members of the Independent Media Council, I might say that on the part of the Media Council, also within the Media Council, we've discussed the intentions to consider this issue and provide our expert conclusions or findings regarding this specific issue. What else is very important? We are talking about the government agencies. In civilized countries where the state actually delegates to the regulator, the National Council in our case, certain authorities in order to enable it to undertake some sanctions for the violation of the existing regulation by TV stations. But in our case, National Council actually determines or establishes the violations, and they send all the materials to the bodies which has to take care of those, and their functions absolutely inefficient, and that's why those things, those small minor cases, are absolutely not interesting to them. In some countries, anti-monopoly committee deals with such issues, which can actually come up with big, large penalties up to thousands upon thousands of dollars, euros. But if nobody actually comes up with some kind of papers, documents, whatever regulations, then the producing companies are not at least generally speaking are not afraid of that. So the ones which are dealing with that issues are not motivated to do anything. When a kind of balanced of law, when we had a compromise earlier, when it doesn't work, it means that everybody, including public organizations, push everybody to a situation when you have to defend or let's say to support the complete prohibition, not only of commercials but advertising, if nobody sticks to the rules which have been established. Thank you to us. The next to speak is Mr. Tatiana Grytsiuta, professor at the Institute of Journalism at Shevchenko Kyiv National University, PhD in the communication sphere. I would like to say a few words as an expert in advertising, as a psychologist of advertising, commercials, and ethics of that. The matter is that alcoholic brands, which Taras aptly mentioned, through the sponsorship, they obtain the opportunity to be televised, and TV is a very, it remains to be, very substantial mouthpiece starting from the Second World War up to date. Is a very powerful means to affect or impact the mass scale conscience. The alcoholic brands use this as the means of pushing through as a marketing tool. If we take a look, generally speaking, at the general advertising content and talking about the alcohol brand commercials and that advertisement, we can see that those brands, like no other ones, use widely as national motives and archetypes. If we are going to be guided by Jung and Freud schooling, they really affect consciences and specifically subconscious of the people. It should be noted here that not only we are not going to talk about youth or the younger generations. Not only we are going to say that at our billboards this Saint Nicholas, or let's say the Father the Frost, appears with a bottle of beer in his hand. And children kind of have this impression that the Father the Frost or the Santa Claus is inseparable from a bottle of vodka or beer. So the matter is that not only the children but also the adult population perceive that in this way. And this is a kind of the way towards the formations, I would say, such, so to say, sensations or feelings like national consciences or self-consciences. If you're going to brought up through the patriotism feelings, through the commercials on beer or beverage, or remember the Cossack advertisement, remember who you are, you know that your will, your freedom is within your blood. And this archetype of the wise man or courageous warrior, remember the videotape of the trademark Hortitsa, wonderful masterpiece of the commercial windows, courageous Cossacks. And this topic of Cossacks has been very popular over the long period of time, and it always remains a topical theme. And the alcoholic brands, including the beer brands, take this opportunity. Remember we produce beers 1715. How much there was national archetypes, and the woman who is the hostess of the fireplace, archetypes of heavens in the cornfields or the rye field, etc. So where is the paradox? Where is the catch? Yesterday for example, the day before we switched on the TV set, and around 8 p.m., maybe this is a mechanism of sponsorship, and we can see that there is the text over the commercial text, and everybody knows about them. Even in the United States, they show this big dog who knows about us, but know about Ukraine, about Ukrainians through the brand of Nemir vodka. And then the commercial text follows. I'm son of my country, but what country? The country of Nemir. So we are not Ukrainians, we are Nemirovians, And as in the long run, it's actually something offensive, because in this way, the alcoholic brands operate, and I believe this is absolutely unethical, and this will really impacts subconscious of the youth, which is still in the process of being formed, but also on the adult persons. And we recognize ourselves as the carriers of some alcoholic brands and not the bearers of some national ideas, patriotic ideas, and the commercial advertising of the alcoholic brands or beer brands. We're talking about that now. They use that absolutely to a maximum extent, which is detrimental to our population. Thank you, Natalia. So, returning the beer commercial to the radio and TV broadcasting station in the places of their sales is inaccessible. All the companies, including beer companies, have an opportunity to involve more consumers among the children and the adolescents through the sponsorship, who has the right around the clock. I mean, those companies are on the air, and they want to have even more to use the direct endorsement or commercials. What is another absurd thing in the latest draft law, which has been adopted or approved by the committee? Different story how they did that, but this is going to be told by Mikhail Golovko. I would like to say that they reduced the payment for the commercial from 8 to 2,000 hryvnia per year. The matter is that the beer companies do not want to pay money to the local budgets, 5,000 hryvnia per year for their license. They would like to decrease that amount to 2,000, but they are they're crying out loud in order to return the commercials to the radio and TV broadcasting stations, and you understand that these million expenditures, we are talking about the branded fridges we use, or the slogans, or the let's say the posters, whatever else. So the beer companies try to actually to deceive the country using different myths, and trying to perceive that the media industry today is very poor, they are the bridge of extinction, and that they have to be supported, and actually, but in fact, they would like to make or earn some more money on all their initiatives. Now I'd like to take turn the mic to Mikhail Golovko, member of the Committee on the Taxation and Customs Policy. Thank you very much. Thank you for your invitation. It's my pleasure to be here. First of all, I would like to mention how this draft law was they tried to push through our committee. Me as a MP, I was absolutely against this approval of this draft law. Actually, I proposed to vote, to confirm through vote in all those amendments and modifications. Unfortunately, they actually tried to push it through. They just put it to the vote, and that's it. Speaking about, yes, indeed, there is in our parliament, there is a powerful alcoholic lobby among the MPs, On the one hand, those are the producers. On the other hand, there are media men or media people, and together they pull their efforts in order to push through their idea. And their idea is, again, to restore the alcoholic commercials, so advertisement, because definitely the commercials, the advertisement of the products can increase their consumption, and it was really ridiculous to hear some of the ideas that this is nothing to do with the conscience of the people, whatever. But then, if it's not necessary, why there's so much intertwined, in itself. I had the Interfactional Association for the Sober Future. We have awful figures. On the one hand, I'm happy that over the last year, the figures, if you're talking about the consumption of beer among the youth, have dropped. But generally speaking, Ukraine has awful figures, 16 and a half 16 and a half liters per person of all alcoholic beverages. And since those figures are really large, and we are one of the leaders in the world, if you're talking about the amount of alcoholic beverage per capita, beer is one of the most dangerous beverage. 90% of the youth up to the years of 15, they tasted the beer. And this, first of all, this alcoholic beverage is tasted or tried first by teenagers, and then they switch over to some stronger alcoholic beverages. So, according to this draft law, which is proposed today or for today, the beer is not going to be considered as alcoholic beverage any longer, and they will have the right to sell it anywhere, to drink it anywhere in all the, let's say, bus stops or whatever else, in bus stops and anywhere else. So if they manage to push this draft law through the parliament, this will be a disaster. We have to do everything possible to avoid that, or to preclude them from doing that. They are going to involve more and more people. You understand that the people who have a long time when they already drank beer or alcoholic beverages for a long time, their lifespan is much shorter than the sober people have. So they are afraid of losing their, let's say, the body of their customers, and that's why they try to involve youth or teenagers in drinking alcoholic beverages. So it was our victory when we introduced some amendments to be introduced in the legislation through the parliament. I would like to thank Yulia for her support. When we defend, first of all, the interest of our society, our nation, and health of our nation. And since we touched upon this topic, we can see some resistance on the part of some lobbyists among the MPs. So, briefly speaking, that's consumption of alcohol is most detrimental to the economy with the country. It's absurd to hear from somebody else, from on the part of the producers, that you're trying to kill our sector, our branch. You reduce the number of jobs, etc., etc. This is cynicism and outraged lie, because consumption of alcohol later is associated with the damage to the economy of the country, at least 100 hryvnia only. And if we're talking like how the statistics from traffic police, more than 1,000 people are killed on the road because of the alcoholic intoxication. 80% of the jailbirds, prison mates, in the jails, they have been sentenced to incarceration because they committed some crimes being intoxicated by alcohol. Again, we are talking about a big number of the drowned people, about 2,000, were those who have been frozen to death in the being drunk. And again, we are talking about the decline in the productivity of persons at the production facilities, etc., etc. So the economy of the country incurs a lot of damages and losses. So the more people consume alcohol, the more detrimentalist was the country. It's absurd to hear from the companies who say that we have to increase the amount of alcohol to be consumed. We have to do the opposite. If the country where they consume 8 liters of the pure ethanol, it's called the drunk country. If more, then the economy collapse. We have to unite our efforts to not to allow those lobbies, the alcohol mafia, to push through this kind of draft law through the parliament and bring us at the edge of the abyss when our use is going to be degrading, etc. Thank you, Mikhail. So the beer companies have to involve new consumers, and they can do that basically among the children and adolescents through the commercials and promotion and the points of sale. This is one of the most efficient tools in their hands to do how they can further on sell and obtain million per million profits at the expense of the health of the children who start to consume beer. Experts in Ukraine state that the beer, the first alcoholic beverage to be used, which leads to using more stronger beverages, alcoholic beverages. So when some of the MPs say that the prohibition of commercials, of beer commercials, will automatically increase the sales of stronger alcoholic beverages, this is not true, because both beer and stronger alcoholic beverages, they are restricted in the same measure by the effective legislation. They are subject to all the prohibitions, and I mean the restriction of commercials and radio and TV broadcasting facilities, etc., etc. So I would like to give the floor, since we're talking about children, to children, childhood psychologist, psychotherapist, Mr. Natalia Prostun. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation extended to me. Maybe this is really a big topic. I'm working with children.
If we go to kindergarten and ask about the beer they know, they will tell you. And it's bitter to hear this because they know about this advertisement, and it influenced children's conscience, and children believe what they see. They do not assimilate the information. They don't understand where this is imaginary and where it is real. They see the pictures, and there are children who have problems in communication. So they see the advertisement that people communicate while consuming beer, and children see this, and teenagers see this. They want to communicate, and they understand that they should take beer and communicate with others. And children are vulnerable to this. And of course, this is the situation that a child sees that people are happy when they drink, that they are happy, positive emotions, and maybe these children have lack of positive emotions, of satisfaction, lack of attention, lack of love. This child sees that there is a way to get this satisfaction, just to drink beer. And children, they are interested in things, and if this, even if it is a brand, for example, Chernigovsky beer, and a child asks a mother, what is it? And children are curious. And this mother says that this drink should be consumed only by adults. But children wait, and they say, when we will be adults, we also are going to consume. And now the economic situation is not good, and sometimes alcohol is a way to distract from the situation, and children get accustomed to avoid the reality by this. And teenagers, they want to be adults, they want to be in trend, they want to be cool, and they see it on TV, on the radio, and they see that in this way you can be in trend and you can behave like this, and there's a window of tolerance towards alcohol. And associations with alcohol and beer, it is connected for them with positive emotions, because in these images they see that everyone is happy, so they believe if they want to enjoy things, so they can try and consume some of this alcohol and feel also happy and satisfied. And starting from 2 years of age, children, they hear advertisement and they come to a TV set, and they just stick to the TV, and they remember the text unconsciously, and then they come to a supermarket and they tell those things they heard in these ads. And it's like a file in their brain, and they see that there is a product from which you can get some positive feelings, and we should be very attentive to this. I'm very glad that statistics was improved, but there is a problem that still exists, and it has a social context, because parents now they work hard, and they do not have enough time to communicate with their kids. They cannot pay more attention to their children, and children are alone with these issues and with their interests. And these kids, they can satisfy their interests and their needs, and they can get first experience, and this experience will be bright for them. And I think that children are dependent on adults, and we should create a safe environment for the development of our kids, in order that they had positive emotions, but not through negative things, but in a more healthy way. I would like to give the floor to a famous Ukrainian designer, Olesya Telizhenko, who is also a parent, and I would like to ask her about her attitude to this problem. Good afternoon. It's a huge problem. Alcohol is a great enemy of our people for many years, and I would like to pay attention to the fact that we should bring up our children in a good way, in a healthy way. We should inform them and educate them, and they can help us to build our state. And all these companies that produce alcohol, they just want to get profit. And we fight for our children, for our future. We will overcome economic difficulties. And our children, they should read a lot, they should know a lot. We live in information world, and there is no place for negative habits. If they consume alcohol, you will be left behind, and no one will need you. So that's why we should create all conditions in order to provide only good information to our kids, and there should be good prospects for our kids. And as a mother, I'm very concerned of the situation, and so I would like to say that media industry and producers of alcohol, big companies, they do everything possible in order to return the advertisement. And this draft law 2971D, it was supported by the deputies of the Taxation and Customs Committee and returned for the second reading. And everyone who is involved, we want we want these deputies to understand that they should not return the advertisement, and it's enough that we should regulate these things. We don't need 24 hours of opportunities for alcohol company to bring new customers. We hope that people's deputies and heads of factions, that they have common sense and they won't support this draft law. And media industry, they conduct many meetings and talks in order to pressure deputies to form a position in the Supreme Council, and also that this is done. We understand as a society that if in 9 months this draft law supported for the second reading, it means that lobbyists conducted their work with the heads of parliamentary factions and formed their position. And I don't think that I'm wrong, but I believe that this is not the case, and I hope that people's deputies have common sense, and they shouldn't support these things while they will vote for the draft law 2971D. And now I give the floor to Iryna Goriacheva, senior lecturer at the National Medical Academy of Postgraduate Education. Of course, we should speak about it because this is a priority in the sphere of health, and this is directed to support intellectual and cultural potential of our state. In the framework of a strategy of UNICEF and UNO, there were some clinics created where young people are supported, and some medical and psychological help is provided to them. Teenagers, they have a lot of problems connected with growing up. So they have some risk behavior, some experimenting with drugs and alcohol. Maybe they believe people too much. They follow their stars and their idols. And where do they get the model of behavior? They copy, they follow people. They see their peers, they see what is shown on TV. For example, the sponsors of all the sports show, these are beer companies, and beer advertisement is everywhere. And the sports idol, they also take beer in their hands for advertisement. And also sociological survey that was conducted in Ukraine by the Institute of Social Research named Dr. Alexander Yeremenko shows terrible statistical data. Alcohol was consumed at the age of 11, about 15%. These are school children, and the most popular drink among children is beer, and 21% of school children consume it. So once a year, beer is drunk by the 6-year school children, and 25% of 11th year school children. And 42% of teenagers felt deep alcoholic, were under deep alcoholic influence. And so there is a full assortment of alcoholic drinks 24 hours a day near homes of people. And now people have a trend, the beer and alcohol, and people believe that beer is not is good. They believe that it is not bad for their health, but there is only the for example, half a liter of beer, 5% alcohol. It's like 50 grams of vodka, and if there's a liter, so it's like 100 milliliters of vodka. So consumption of alcohol increases violence, traumas, and according to statistics, takes first place in death toll among young people. Also, hormonal influence, phytoestrogens that are contained in beer, they go through the liver of the person, and it changes the hormonal levels. So this information should be spread, but people do not want to know about it. So beer alcoholism really exists, and it develops fast in young people, and it has more pernicious going. So also the availability of beer trends in this area, and beer is consumed in public places, and also there is advertisement of beer, and paradox appear. Ministry of Health and clinics, pediatricians, civil society, and doctors, they do everything possible in order to explain to teenagers the situation. But at the other side, there is aggressive advertisement that brings young people to in this area, and it undermines all achieved results. And we should create a common environment where the central place is the most important value, the health of our young people, and there shouldn't be any place for negative advertisement.
Well, taking the one that should be in the right being moderator, we have a question to Shevchenko. Lobbies of this draft law state that it's necessary that this draft law will allow to change the legislation in Ukraine, which has to be brought closer to the European legislation on the rights of the radio broadcast and TV broadcasting. So we have to actually to do something about the beer commercial to do that. Is it true? No. The convention does not establish any kind of right regarding the commercials or advertising of alcoholic beverages or beer, because many of the countries have the complete banning of that. The convention actually provides for a specific framework, and it does not allow any kind of commercials for beer or any kind of alcoholic beverages. So we are talking about the commercial, general speaking, which does not cover the beer. So if there is no direct ban, it doesn't mean that it is allowed to do, because the matter is that some of the countries prohibited to do that, some of the rest of them not. So it's up to the government of each specific country to decide. Thank you. I would like to say that Reanimation Package of Reforms, the public platform, which including many different organizations, they published on Monday their statement where they called upon MPs not to return the beer commercials to the radio TV broadcasting stations. They do not have the equal position because the lobbyists have a lot of money and the leverages, etc., in order to return the commercials back to the screens and the radio broadcasting. And since we have the very broad representation of different of our society, we have a lot of people, we still hope that they will hear us. And the common sense of the parliamentarians will take over the business interests. Thank you very much. Being reminded that our time is up. I understand we do not have time for questions and answers, or we have just a few minutes for that. Yeah. Are there any questions? No. Then thank you very much for your attention and to all the participants in our press conference. Thank you.